She lost in the first round. The scoreboard said the match was over. The tournament would move on. Another name would advance through the draw. Another result would be added to the statistics. But sometimes the moments people remember most have nothing to do with the final score. On a cool afternoon in Paris, Alex Eala walked off court 14 at Roland Garros, carrying the weight of disappointment on her shoulders. Across the net, her opponent had earned a hard-fought victory. The match was finished. Yet nobody seemed ready to leave. The Philippine flags were still visible throughout the stands. The chants had quieted, but they had not disappeared. Thousands of fans remained in their seats. Some applauded. Some stood silently. Some simply watched, because they understood what they had just witnessed. Not a champion lifting a trophy. Not a fairy tale victory. Just a young athlete giving everything she had and falling short. And somehow that felt just as meaningful. As she approached the net, Eala embraced her opponent with genuine warmth. There was disappointment in her eyes, but there was also respect. That moment lasted only a few seconds. The next moment lasted much longer. Eala turned toward the crowd. For a brief second, she seemed to take in the entire scene. The flags, the faces, the supporters who had traveled from different countries and different continents simply to watch her compete. People who had woken up before sunrise. People who had taken vacation days. People who had rearranged their lives for one afternoon in Paris. She raised her racket toward them. The applause grew louder. Then she placed her hand over her heart. No speech. No dramatic gesture. Just a simple acknowledgement. A thank you. The cameras captured it. The photographers captured it. Most importantly, the fans never forgot it. Because in that moment, the relationship between Alex Eala and her supporters felt bigger than a tennis match. The result hurt. There was no pretending otherwise. Athletes do not dedicate their lives to competition because they enjoy losing. Eala had come to Paris hoping for more. Every player does. Every athlete believes there is one more match, one more opportunity, one more breakthrough waiting around the corner. When that dream ends earlier than expected, the disappointment is real. But so was the appreciation. Long after the final point had been played, spectators remained around the court. Some wanted photographs. Some wanted autographs. Many simply wanted to applaud one more time. It was a scene that surprised even experienced observers of the sport. Normally, crowds leave quickly after a first-round loss. This crowd stayed. And that spoke volumes. Because the connection fans feel with athletes is not always built through victories. Sometimes it is built through vulnerability, through effort, through seeing someone continue fighting even when things are not going their way. That evening, images from the match spread across social media. Not highlights of winners and aces. Not statistics. Not rankings projections. Instead, the most shared photographs showed Eala looking toward the crowd after the match had ended. The reaction was immediate. Supporters from the Philippines, Europe, North America, the Middle East, and beyond shared their thoughts. Many wrote the same thing. We're proud of you. Not because she won. Because she competed. Because she represented something larger than a result on a scoreboard. The following morning, the conversation had not disappeared. If anything, it had grown. Commentators discussed the remarkable support she continued to receive around the world. Journalists wrote about the atmosphere surrounding her matches. Fans shared stories about traveling long distances just to watch her play. And at the center of all of it was a simple truth. The match was over. The tournament run had ended. But the connection between Alex Eala and the people who believed in her had only become stronger. Tennis can be a lonely sport. One player wins. One player loses. There's nowhere to hide from the result. Yet every so often, a defeat reveals something that victory cannot. Character, perspective, gratitude, the ability to stand in front of thousands of people after disappointment and still acknowledge them with sincerity. Years from now, most people will not remember the exact score from that first-round match. They may not remember every point. They may not remember every game. But many will remember the image of a young player standing before a crowd that refused to stop believing in her. And perhaps that is why the moment resonated so deeply. Because the story was never really about losing. It was about what remained after the loss.
The respect.
The loyalty, the connection, and the realization that sometimes an athlete's most powerful moments arrive not when they are celebrating victory, but when they are learning how to carry heartbreak with grace. This script has the same issue as the earlier examples. It mixes a real player, Alex Eala, with highly specific scenes, quotes, statistics, social media numbers, and behind-the-scenes events that appear to be invented or unverified. What feels fictional or unverified exact dialogue between Alex Eala and Iva Jovic at the net. Claims that security camera footage captured private tunnel conversations. Detailed conversations between Alex and her mother. The phrase Laban, always, Laban, being mouthed to cameras. Claims that footage was viewed 50 million times. Claims that specific players such as Coco Gauff, Naomi Osaka, Iga Swiatek, and Roger Federer posted those exact reactions. Claims that airport farewell scenes occurred exactly as described. Statements that she became the most talked about athlete of the tournament. Those details read like cinematic storytelling rather than documented reporting. Why it feels AI-generated, every scene escalates emotionally tears. Viral photos. Millions of views. Emotional airport goodbye. Child gives drawing. Inspirational coach text. Real life is usually messier and less perfectly structured. The hero narrative is too clean. The story repeatedly reinforces one message. She lost, but actually won something bigger. That can work in storytelling, but repeated too often it starts feeling manufactured. Repeated emotional phrases. She won hearts. She inspired millions. The scoreboard is not the only measure. Laban, always. Repetition is a common sign of AI-written sports drama. Huge numbers without sources, 50 million views, 10 million likes, worldwide sharing, global conversation. None are attributed to verifiable reporting. How to make it feel real instead of. The image was shared over 50 million times. The entire world was talking about Alex Eala. Although Eala's tournament ended in the first round, many fans focused on her reaction after the match. Images of her acknowledging Filipino supporters spread widely across social media, prompting discussions about resilience, sportsmanship, and the connection she has built with fans around the world. Instead of, Roger Federer said this image will outlast any trophy. Some fans compare the image to other memorable moments in tennis where athletes earned admiration through grace in defeat rather than victory. Instead of, she became the most talked about athlete in Paris. For many Filipino fans, Eala's post-match gesture became one of the most memorable images of the tournament, even though her run ended earlier than she hoped. A stronger court legacy style ending. Alex Eala did not leave Paris with a trophy. She did not leave with ranking points she had hoped to earn. She did not leave with a second-round appearance. What she left with was something harder to measure. Thousands of Filipino fans stayed until the very end. They applauded after the final point. They waved their flags long after the match was over. In a sport that often judges players only by wins and losses, moments like that tell a different story. The scoreboard said Eala lost to Iva Jovic. But the connection she built with the people in those stands survived long after the numbers disappeared from the screen. The grass season would come next. More tournaments. More opportunities. More challenges. And perhaps that is why so many people continue to follow her journey. Not because every match ends in victory, but because every match reveals something about the person behind the racket. Paris was not the ending of a story. It was simply another chapter. And for Alex Eala, the next chapter was already waiting.
Esty.